Hey guys, and welcome to another Minecraft speed build. This build is actually of two builds at once. The first one, which I'm currently building at 8 times speed, is a Terran Marine from the game StarCraft. Now this one only took approximately 25 to 30 minutes, so it's not an insanely huge build, and not insanely difficult either. But if you are pretty much starting from basic Marios or Pikachus or Yoshis or something like that, I really recommend trying to do this one. It's not extremely difficult, but it's just that one step higher. It might be a little bit bigger than you're used to, it might have maybe a detail or two that you're not used to, some different colorings in between that you have to think about. As you can see in my toolbar, I have 3 kinds of blue. One is way lighter than the other, and yeah, I kinda had to make a sacrifice here on which blues to use to at least still kind of resemble the image. Obviously you can change coloring and stuff, but I'll leave that up to you guys. Either way, the first one, the outline, is already almost finished. For the coloring I will jump to 4 times speed so you can follow along what I'm doing. But yeah, like I said, there's 2 builds in total. First one, approximately 30 minutes until it was done. Yeah, the outline is already finished and we're like 1.5 minutes into the video, so it's not too shabby. For the outline I still use obsidian, as I don't tend to use obsidian as a coloring block in my builds, so it always sticks out as the edge. In the second build I can explain that you can also use different kinds, but we'll get to there eventually. I always start to color from bottom to top, so from down at the floor and work my way upwards. That's at least what I most of the time do. Pick one color, finish it off, move to the other. Maybe if there are some details that I'm currently near and I'm like, okay, I need to get this detail right, or it uses the same kind of color, like maybe not the exact whites or grays that are in my inventory or something, then I will do that as well. But yeah, mainly pick one color, finish it, go to the next, finish it, take it out of your inventory so you don't get distracted by it or possibly misplace blocks that might stick in the build. If you forget to take it out, or if you don't notice yourself, if you scroll too far, or if you press the one button to jump to it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The build wasn't especially difficult. Like I said before, the blue, I use I think it's blue concrete and the blue wool as the main coloring of this build, and I use the light blue as the highlight blue, which kind of depicts obviously the lighter areas of the armor that this marine is wearing. But yeah, nothing too special, nothing too amazing. Like I said, once again, within 30 minutes this was done and completed, and I could continue to the next one. Doesn't mean that there were some decision-making things to happen, just like the coloring. You're already limited in the blocks that you can use. I still want it to look as much as possible as the image that I'm using to recreate it from, but at the same time, just make it look good, you know? So that's some kind of struggle that everyone has to go through. So that's one of the decisions that you have to go through. I definitely want to advise to, if you're building something, try and build it in multiple colors. You can stick with the outline, that's fine. You don't have to build an outline more than once, or if you have like some kind of world edit, which I don't, just copy paste the outline once and then just try and make the same build in different colors. Make a Pikachu in black and white and grey, build a LiQWYD in orange, like that kind of stuff, you know? Make yourself think in different colors, make yourself familiar with different things, and yeah, go from there, build your experience from there. All you need is a little bit of patience, and there's the first one. It's looking pretty good in my opinion, nothing too amazing. Like I said, once again, took about 30 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes, but it doesn't mean that it cannot look good. So now I'm preparing for my second build, which will take approximately 1.5 hours. So it's kind of 3 times as big as the first marine, or at least 3 times as long. The second marine that I'm building, I will start counting from the tip of the gun and move to the right, and I will start with the left foot of the marine. There is going to be a logo, the Terran logo, behind, well, on the same level, but visually behind the Marine. So you have to keep that in mind, but the less you have to count, the better it is. So I start with the left foot, which will be the closest to the Marine at all times, and I can still manage to move the logo behind the other Marine visually if I need to, as long as this one is just perfect and it doesn't interfere with the normal Marine, the first one that I made, then it's all good. You can probably already see that I'm also using a different technique to build this one than I did with the first one. With the first one, I decided to do the entire outline first and then start coloring. With this build, I'm pretty much doing everything as I go. That's because, as you can probably already tell, there is a lot more obsidian in this build, and not just the outline, than with the first Marine. I sometimes think about the fact that I might miss a shade of black or grey or whatever. So I was doubting if I should maybe use a block of coal or black concrete or whatever in this build, but thinking about it, once again, I almost never use obsidian in there. It's still a solid border block to use because it has such a distinct purple kind of color to it that at least I personally almost never use it in a build, so I kind of still wanted to use it. Sometimes you can argue that you might not want to fill an entire space or area with the obsidian, and you maybe want to switch it over to a black concrete or a block of coal in there as well, but that just doesn't really look good to me because the shade in the image as well, the shadow of it, it's continuous, and with obsidian you create a border, which is the reason why I use obsidian, is to create a border. So if I switch to like a black concrete, or if I switch to a block of coal, I have a border and the shadow, and that doesn't really work. And I figured after having lots of experience doing this, it still looks good enough if you just fill it in with obsidian. And if you've also noticed as well, most of this coloring is a little bit more intricate because it has a little bit more of a checkered pattern. It switches from one color to the other in like this crisscross pattern. So it takes a little bit of time, or a little bit of extra time to color it in, because you don't have like a big area of one single color that you're coloring in, which you'll see later during the logo. That's all some of the small things to keep in mind. Like I said, with building these kind of things. Also, with this build, one of the main reasons why I decided to build, this as I went, is because some of it wasn't really countable, if that makes sense. The obsidian that I use for the border, as you saw with the lag, which I was explaining earlier, there's just a big void of emptiness and black, and you don't always have the best way and the most reliable way to count it. So if you can use different kinds of colors to count it and work your way up from there, then it's a lot easier to build it than just do the outline and then color it in. It's way easier, at least that I've found with some builds, to just color in everything as you go. And it also teaches you to work with a few different practices and see what kind of building style suits you best. And yeah, just like I said with the first one as well, get yourself familiar with the different concepts of building. And currently I'm building on the logo, nothing too amazing. It's this was counting wise a little bit more difficult because, as you can see, it's one big patch of blue, but it is nothing too difficult. And once I'm done filling this in, the two builds, including the Terran logo from StarCraft, are finished. Actually, one more section, but that's done as well. So, I hope you enjoyed the little bit of explanation. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the explanation. I hope it's clear. If you want to see more, there's way more on the channel. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next one. Have a great day, my dudes.